The evening sun cast a golden glow through the windows of Bernie's diner, that old-fashioned place on Maple Street, where the vinyl booths were, patched with duct tape and the jukebox. Still played Patsy, Cline. Richard Morgan sat in his usual corner booth, his expensive suit looking somewhat out of place among the worn Formica tables. His daughter Emma, just 7 years old, with blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, sat beside him, her small legs swinging beneath the table. Across from them, his son Daniel, 9 years old with sandy brown hair, was focused intently on the menu, though he already knew what he wanted. Richard came here every Thursday evening, not to the fancy steakhouse downtown, where his business associates expected to see him, not to the country club where memberships cost more than most people made in a year, but here to Bernie's, where the meatloaf was honest and the coffee was strong and nobody cared that he had money. "Daddy, can I get the chicken tenders?" Emma asked, her voice soft and sweet. "You always get the chicken tenders." "Sweetheart," Richard said with a gentle smile, reaching over to adjust the napkin on her lap. "That's because they're the best in the whole world," she replied with absolute certainty. "The way children do when they believe something completely." Daniel looked up from his menu. "I'm getting the burger with extra pickles." Richard nodded, about to signal the waitress when the bell above the door chimed. He glanced up out of habit and his breath caught slightly. A young woman walked in, maybe 30 years old, wearing a simple pink sleeveless top that had seen better days. Her light brown hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her face carried that particular kind of tiredness that comes from working too hard and sleeping too little. Behind her, a small boy clutched her hand, maybe 5 years old, wearing a gray t-shirt that was slightly too big for him. Richard watched as they hesitated near the entrance. The woman's eyes scanned the diner, and he could see her lips moving, probably counting in her head. She reached into her purse, and even from across the room, Richard could see her hands trembling, slightly as she counted out coins and crumpled bills. They sat down at the table right next to Richard's family. The booths were close together in Bernie's, close enough that you could hear conversations whether you wanted to or not. The woman smoothed down her son's hair with a mother's automatic gesture, then picked up the menu. Richard saw her eyes scan the prices, saw the small frown that creased her forehead. "Mommy, I'm really hungry," the boy said, his voice carrying that whine that comes when children are tired and their stomachs are empty. "I know, baby. Let's see what we can get, okay?" Her voice was steady, but Richard could hear the strain in it, like a rope pulled too tight. The waitress, Betty, who'd been working at Bernie's for 20 years, came over with her pad. "What can I get you folks?" The woman studied the menu again. Could we get one grilled cheese sandwich and a glass of milk, and just water for me?" Richard's chest tightened. "One sandwich, for both of them." "Mom, what about you?" the boy asked, his young face confused. "I ate earlier, sweetheart. I'm not that hungry. You have the sandwich, okay?" She smiled at him, and it was one of those smiles that mothers give when they're lying to protect their children, when they're going without so their babies can have something. Betty wrote it down without comment, but Richard saw the sadness in her eyes. She'd seen this before. In a town like this, you saw it more often than anyone wanted to admit. Emma had been watching too. Her blue eyes, so much like her late mother's, were wide and thoughtful. She looked down at the coins scattered on the table next to theirs. Probably just enough for that one sandwich and milk. Then she looked at her father, and Richard saw something in her face that made his throat tight. She tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy?" He leaned down so she could whisper in his ear, though he had a feeling he already knew what she was going to say. "Dad, can I share with them?" Emma whispered, her small hand pointing to the woman and her son at the next table. "That boy's hungry and his mommy isn't eating anything." Richard felt his eyes sting. Here, in this moment, his 7-year-old daughter had seen what so many adults chose to ignore. She'd seen someone in need, and her first instinct wasn't to look away. It was to help. He pulled back and looked at his daughter. This little girl who somehow understood kindness in a way that seemed to come from somewhere, deeper than anything he'd taught her. "That's a beautiful thought, sweetheart," he said quietly. "But let's do something a little different, okay?" Daniel had been listening too. "Dad, that kid looks really hungry." "I know, son, I know." Richard signaled to Betty and she came over, her order pad ready. But instead of speaking loud enough for everyone to hear, Richard stood up and walked with her a few steps away toward the counter. He kept his voice low. "Betty, that woman and her boy at the next table. I want you to tell her that the dinner special includes an entree, a side, and a dessert for each person. Don't mention a price. Just tell her it's on the house tonight. Part of a promotion or something. Make it sound normal, okay? And bring them whatever they want." Betty's weathered face softened. "Richard Morgan, you're a good man. Don't tell her it's from me. Please, just make it seem like it's just how things are tonight." Betty nodded, understanding immediately. She'd lived long enough to know that charity given with dignity was worth twice as much. Richard returned to his seat and Emma looked at him with questioning eyes. "Just wait, honey. Just watch." They heard Betty return to the next table. "Excuse me, miss. I forgot to mention, we're running a special tonight. Thursday family special. 2 complete dinners, any entree from the menu, side dish, drink, and a slice of pie. No charge. It's our way of saying thanks to our neighbors." The woman looked up, confusion clear on her face. "I don't understand. No charge? House special, honey. Happens every Thursday. We just like to take care of folks." Betty's voice was warm, matter of fact, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Richard watched as disbelief washed over the woman's face, followed by something that looked like hope, cautious and fragile. "Any entree? Anything you want. I recommend the pot roast. It's real good tonight, or the baked chicken if you prefer. And your boy there might like the spaghetti and meatballs. Kids always do." The little boy's eyes lit up. "Can I get spaghetti, Mom? Really?" His mother's eyes filled with tears, and she blinked rapidly, trying to hold them back. Her voice shook when she spoke. "Yes, baby. Yes, you can get the spaghetti. And I'll have the pot roast, please." "Good choice. And what to drink? Could he have chocolate milk?" "Of course." "And for you?" "Coffee would be wonderful." "Thank you. Thank you so much." Betty patted her shoulder. "You're welcome, dear. Be right up." As Betty walked away, Richard saw the woman cover her face with her hands for just a moment, her shoulders shaking. When she lowered her hands, her eyes were wet. But she was smiling at her son, really smiling now. Emma tugged Richard's sleeve again. "Did you do that, Daddy?" "Betty did that, sweetheart. She's a kind woman." But Emma wasn't fooled. She looked at her father with understanding beyond her years. "You told her to do it." "Maybe, but the important thing is that they're going to eat a good meal tonight." "Mommy would have liked that," Emma said softly. And Richard felt his heart crack a little. His wife, Catherine, had passed away 2 years ago, cancer taking her far too soon. But she'd taught their children about kindness before she left. She'd taught them to see people, really see them. "Yes," Richard said, his voice thick. "She would have loved it." Daniel leaned forward. "Dad, why didn't you just tell them it was from you?" It was a fair question, and Richard took a moment to answer it properly. "Because, son, sometimes people need help, but they also need to keep their dignity. If I'd just offered to pay, she might have felt embarrassed or like she was taking charity. This way, she can accept it without feeling like she's accepting a handout. Do you understand?" Daniel nodded slowly. "I think so. It's like helping without making them feel bad about needing help?" "Exactly." They watched as the food arrived, plate after plate of hot, good food. The little boy's eyes grew, round as saucers when he saw the mountain of spaghetti and the 3 big meatballs on top. His mother laughed, actually laughed, a sound of pure relief and joy. "Look, Mommy. Look how much there is." "I see, baby. Eat up." "Eat as much as you want." And the boy did, diving into his meal with the enthusiasm that only hungry children can muster. His mother ate more slowly, savoring each bite, and Richard could see the tension leaving her shoulders with each mouthful. When was the last time she'd eaten a real meal? He wondered. How many meals had she skipped to make sure her son had enough? Emma watched them with satisfaction, then looked down at her own plate when it arrived. The chicken tenders that were usually the highlight of her week suddenly seemed less important. She picked one up, dipped it in honey mustard, but she was distracted, her attention on the table next to them. Halfway through the meal, Emma made a decision. She picked up her plate and, before Richard could stop her, slid out of the booth and walked over to the next table. "Excuse me," she said in her small, clear voice. The woman looked up, startled. Yes, honey? I noticed you watching my chicken tenders. They're really, really good. Would you like to try one? I have more than I can eat. It wasn't exactly true, but it was said with such innocent sincerity that it didn't matter. The woman's eyes filled with tears again. Oh, sweetheart, that's so kind of you, but I'm fine. You eat your dinner. But sharing makes food taste better. My mommy used to say that. She's in heaven now. But she was right about everything. Emma held out her plate. The woman looked at Richard, and he gave a small nod and a gentle smile. She took one of the chicken tenders. Thank you, dear. That's very sweet of you. Emma beamed. Then she turned to the little boy. Hi, I'm Emma. What's your name? Tyler, the boy said shyly through a mouthful of spaghetti. That's a nice name. Do you want to see something cool? My brother taught me how to make a napkin into a boat. And just like that, Emma was sitting on the edge of their booth, showing Tyler how to fold paper napkins while the adults watched with a mixture of amusement and emotion. The woman looked at Richard again. Your daughter is lovely. Thank you. Yours is pretty special, too. I'm Jennifer, by the way. Jennifer Walsh. Richard. Richard Morgan. And that's my son Daniel over there. Daniel waved awkwardly. I have to be honest, Jennifer said, her voice dropping low. There's no Thursday special here, is there? Richard didn't insult her intelligence by lying. Does it matter? She was quiet for a moment, watching Emma show Tyler the napkin boat. I should be too proud to accept this. But I can't be. Not when my boy is finally eating a real meal. Not when I can feel my stomach stop hurting from being empty. There's no shame in accepting kindness, Richard said gently. We all need help sometimes. The shape of that help just looks different for different people. Why? Jennifer asked, and her voice cracked. Why would you do this for strangers? Richard thought about his answer carefully. Because someone did it for me once. Long time ago, before I had any money, when I was just a kid with a single mom who worked 3 jobs. A stranger bought our groceries one day when my mom's card got declined. Just paid for everything, didn't make a fuss, and walked away. I never forgot that. Never forgot how my mom cried in the parking lot. But they were good tears, you know. Relief tears. Jennifer nodded, wiping her eyes. I know those tears. And because my daughter was watching. And I want her to grow up knowing that we help each other. That's what we do. That's what makes us human. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, just listening to Emma and Tyler laugh as they folded napkins into increasingly absurd shapes. I lost my job 3 months ago, Jennifer said suddenly, as if she needed to explain. The factory closed. I've been looking, applying everywhere, but nothing yet. Tyler's dad. He's not in the picture. Hasn't been for years. It's just us. And the bills keep coming and the rent is due. And I've been choosing between food and electricity. Today I found enough change in my car and in the couch cushions for 1 meal. Just 1. So I brought him here because I knew he loved grilled cheese. And I thought at least he could have something good. Richard's heart ached. Are you working now? Cleaning houses when I can get the work. It's not steady. Not enough. He made a decision. I own a company. Morgan Property Management. We have an opening in our accounting department. Data entry, some bookkeeping. It's not glamorous, but it's steady, and the benefits are good. Health insurance, paid time off. If you're interested, Jennifer stared at him. You don't even know me. You don't know if I'm qualified. Can you use a computer? Yes. Can you show up on time and work hard? Yes, of course. Then you're qualified. Everything else, we can teach you. He pulled out his wallet, extracted a business card. Come by Monday morning. 9 o'clock. Ask for Helen in HR. I'll let her know you're coming. Jennifer took the card with shaking hands. I can't. This isn't real. It's real. And you'll earn every penny. It's not charity. It's a job. You work, we pay you. Fair trade. Why? She whispered again. Because I can. Because you need it. Because that little boy deserves to have his mom not constantly worried about where the next meal is coming from. Richard paused. And because Emma pointed at you and asked if she could share. 7 years old and she already knows what really matters. I'm just trying to live up to the example my daughter is setting. Jennifer covered her mouth, tears flowing freely now. Thank you. God, thank you. By the time dessert came around, the 2 tables had essentially merged. Emma and Tyler were fast friends, comparing their favorite cartoons and arguing about whether dogs or cats made better pets. Daniel had moved over to show Tyler a card trick he'd learned at school. And Jennifer and Richard talked about everything and nothing, the kind of easy conversation that happens when two people recognize something decent in each other. Betty brought out slices of apple pie, warm with cinnamon and topped with vanilla ice cream, and Tyler's expression of pure bliss made everyone at both tables laugh. "This is the best day ever," Tyler announced, his face smeared with ice cream. "It really is," Jennifer agreed. And when she looked at Richard, there was gratitude there, yes, but also something like hope, fragile and new. As the evening wound down and the sun fully set outside, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Richard felt something settle in his chest. Peace, maybe, or purpose. His wife, Catherine, had always said that money was just paper unless you did something meaningful with it. She'd volunteered at soup kitchens and donated to shelters and always stopped to help when she saw someone in need. "We're living on borrowed time," she'd said near the end, when the cancer had stolen her strength but not her spirit. "All of us. So we'd better make sure we spend it doing things that matter. Love the kids. Help people. Don't waste time on things that don't matter." He hadn't wasted this evening. He was sure of that. When it was time to leave, Emma hugged Tyler goodbye like they were old friends parting after years instead of just an hour. "Maybe we'll see you again," she said hopefully. "I hope so," Tyler replied. Jennifer walked them to the door. "Monday, 9 o'clock. I'll be there." "I know you will," Richard said. Outside, as they walked to Richard's car, a modest sedan despite his wealth, because he'd never seen the point in flashy things, Emma slipped her hand into his. "Daddy, did we do a good thing tonight?" Richard knelt down so he was eye level with his daughter. The streetlights had come on, casting a warm glow over the parking lot. "We did a very good thing, sweetheart. You did a very good thing. Mommy always said that kindness is like a light. The more you share it, the brighter everything gets. Your mommy was a very wise woman." "I miss her," Emma said simply. "I miss her too, baby." "Every single day. But she's still teaching us, isn't she? Through you, through the things she said, through the way she lived, she's still here." Emma nodded, satisfied with this answer, and climbed into the back seat. Daniel got in beside her, and as Richard started the car, he heard his son say, "That was pretty cool. What we did tonight." "Yeah," Emma agreed. "We should do it more often." And Richard, pulling out of the parking lot of Bernie's Diner, that humble place where magic had happened over meatloaf and chicken tenders, thought about his children, about kindness, about the way small acts of generosity could change everything for someone. He thought about Jennifer, who would start a new job on Monday, who would be able to feed her son and pay her bills and maybe, finally, sleep through the night without that gnawing worry. He thought about Tyler, whose belly was full and whose face had lit up with joy. And he thought about Emma, his beautiful, kind-hearted daughter, who had pointed to strangers and asked if she could share. "Yeah," Richard said softly, as much to his late wife as to his children. "We should do it more often." The road ahead was dark, but the lights from the diner behind them still glowed warm in the rearview mirror, and Richard drove home with a full heart, knowing that some evenings, some simple acts of human decency, mattered more than 1,000 business deals or $1 million in the bank. Kindness, he thought, was the only currency that truly multiplied when you gave it away. And tonight they were all richer for it.